So, we're talking about mortgages on 211 is our chart again that you might have to use, I think, for this section.
Lord, first with deep compassion for those. May the day come quickly of your kingdom of justice and truth. In Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Sarah. All right, letter C. Marvin Zach bought a home for $95,000 with a $15,000 down payment. His mortgage is for 20 years at 7%. Find Marvin's monthly payments and the total amount he will pay in interest over the 20-year loan period. So, how do we do it? How do I find my monthly payment?
95,000 minus 15,000 divided by 20.
Perfect. No. Almost perfect. So I got to take my total amount, which was 95, and what was my down payment?
15.
So what do we get?
Oh, it's 20 years. That's not bad.
$80,000, right? What is $80,000?
How much a lot?
That's how much we're going to the bank with to ask for a loan. Or that's how much I still owe. Okay? So take this 80,000 and your percent, which was what? 7%. And how many years did he sign up for? Back to the chart. So turn back. Use that information in your chart. And tell me what your monthly payment is. 620.24. Everybody okay with that?
That'd be the same as dividing 8,000 times, or 80,000 times 7% divided by 20 divided by 12. Did you
I
get that?
know, try it out.
Why?
I wouldn't think so. Maybe. That's probably how they came up with it on your table. But instead of doing that math every single time, they would just make it do. So you're saying take this times 7% divided by, you could either do 20 divided by 12, or you could do, what, how many, 20 times 12 would be 240.
Wouldn't you divide up?
That's only 23.
Not quite.
Oh yeah, what did you get when you just did 20? I understand what you're thinking. I gotta think about the math that you're trying to do.
I got 200 feet. Divided by 20. So you're paying. But I have to add on the 7% though. So that 80,000?
Sorry, are you just doing 80,000 times the 7%?
Yeah, so I'm just doing the interest.
Yeah, you're only doing the interest about
Oh, yeah.
years.
So that's not counting what my overall payment is. Okay? So, that's my first part. Now what's the second part? Okay, it says how much, or what is the total amount he will pay in interest over the 20-year loan period. So how the heck do I figure this out? Well, here's what I would do. How many months am I going to pay if I do the whole entire cycle? Okay, times, so take this, $620.24 times 240. This should be a rather large number.
148,857.6.
Point what?
6.
Okay, why did I do this? This would be how much I'm going to spend if I do it for 20 years at $620.24. Does that make sense? So now, how much did I pay? I really only paid, sorry, I think you want the original total, the original amount.
95.
Nope, we're still gonna use this 80,000. So, subtract.
68,857.6.
So, remember when I asked you what's better? to buy a house or to pay rent, essentially, in 20 years, you would spend an extra $68,000 just in interest to buy that particular house. So, a $95,000 house that I essentially, because basically, I don't have to put the $15,000 back in there because I already paid that, right? So essentially, I spent $148,857 for that particular house that only cost $95,000. So when Donald said if I had $1 million, could I just pay it off? Heck yes, I would want to pay it off if I had the money, right? Because then I'm saving this over 20 years. Make sense? So again, is this amount cheaper than rent? Probably still. So even though you're quote unquote kind of wasting this on interest, you're probably getting a better deal here than you would have if you're paying rent somewhere. And at the end of 20 years, this baby right here is yours. I'm never gonna own my place, right? Because I'm renting. So you gotta think about that.
$95,000 pretty cheap for a house.
Depends on where you're at. You can get a pretty decent house like in Sioux City for $95,000. Here in Lamar's, not gonna get a whole lot. No offense.
That's what I thought.
If you're gonna spend $95,000 on a house in Lamar's, you better be a construction guy that can do a lot of work to it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Too bad.
All right, let's try D. Joseph and Rhoda bought a modular home as a future retirement home. The Flynn's made a $25,000 down payment and got a $40,000 loan to pay for the home. So, listen to me right here. The difference between C and D, I do not have to do any subtraction in D, right? It already told you what your loan was. So, the list price would have been $65,000 for this one. All right? If the loan is for 25 years at 6%, what monthly payment will they make? What total interest? So basically it's the same thing. But notice here, this house was only $65,000 and they came up with $25,000. So they're basically going to the bank only for $40,000. Basically a few more years and they got a less percent than the last example. So if you think about this without doing the math, should my payments be pretty good? They should be real good, right? Because we spent a lot of money with our down payment. So, do we want to go through the math? Okay, so we're going to use 40,000, 25 years, 6% on the chart, on the last page. And what's the number you came up with?
257.72.
Everybody agree? Okay, so how many months or total months did I pay in this one? 300, because what? So this is 25 times 12. Everybody okay with that? Multiply those two together. Minus 40,000.
37,316.
Yeah, it's 316, 325.
Okay.
Basically paying double.
I was just going to say the same thing, right? Come back to this one, 80,000 to 148. 80 times 2 would be 160. It was just under. This one, same thing. We asked for this. We paid this in interest, so basically we just about doubled our mortgage.
That sucks.
Right?
That's life.
That's life. So again, notice here, though, that's pretty good payment. It's a really good payment. There's no place that you're going to, well, I would say, want to live in for $257 if you're doing an apartment. Yeah, you might find that somewhere, but you probably don't wanna live there. You know what I mean?
That's like the Remsen.
I don't know about that. Okay, make sense though? So it's something to put into your mind, right? Jump over to E. So now we're going to look to refinance. Nancy's monthly mortgage payment is $597. She can refinance her loan with a new mortgage with monthly payments of $465. The total cost of getting a new mortgage is $836. So what's that mean? That means those are those closing costs we talked about. If you're going to refinance, they're going to charge you to refinance. So they're going to make you do closing costs again. That tries to deter people from changing all the time. But if you have that extra money, I guess you don't really care. So what net first year savings will she have with the new mortgage? When it says the net new savings, you have to figure out how much she's going to save in paying paying the mortgage, but then you also have to include the $836 in that portion of it, okay? So, how do I find out how much I save?
97 times 12.
So I can do this, and
And 465 times 12 plus the 836.
okay? So, a couple different ways I can do this. I could subtract those two, and then take it times 12, or like Dragon said, just do those, and then I'm gonna subtract those, or sometime I need to add $836 onto it. And again, you can kind of do this part. Dragon said he was gonna do it right in this part. That's okay too. You can do it at the end, it doesn't really matter, okay? So, either way, you should come up with the exact same answer. So let's start filling it in the blanks. Anybody do this one? 597 times 12.
7,164.
465 times 12.
5,580.
Let's subtract. 4, 8, 5, 1584. Sorry, not adding. We want to subtract. We don't want to add it, right? Say it again.
You can't add the 836.
No, sorry, I want to subtract, because this is savings, right? I have to add this to, or this is a part of my payments, so I'm not going to save that. This is how much I'm saving, so I'm actually going to subtract those two. My fault.
If it was up with this 465 times 12, then you would add it, right?
You could add it to this one, yes, and then you subtract it. Yep. So if you're going to put it up here, then I would have added 836. If you're going to do it way down here, I'm going to subtract it. Either way, you should come up with the same amount, which is 748. So even with refinancing and having to pay that $836, you still save $748. But realistically, we're going to save $1,500 every single month. That's a big deal, right? So it's worth that refinancing. You know, if you did this times 11, how much would you make in 1 year? That would be huge, right? 1,500 times 11. Yeah.
Wait, so you
That's how much
added
you would save
836 already? And then-
I'm gonna, depends on where you do the 836. If you're going to put it with the new payment, then you're gonna add it. If you're gonna do it way at the end, you're gonna subtract it.
Isn't that 1584 how much you would save in a year?
Oh, you're right, in a year, you're right. You're right. So $748 was just this year. Every other year, you would save $1,500. So if you take 1584 divided by 12, you're looking at what? $130 a month. That's a cool deal, right? $130 a month,
So
so.
you just took her monthly, her first monthly,
Yeah.
then you can just subtract it from the other monthly and then times by 12?
Yep. You could have done that, right? So you could have taken those two and subtracted it times 12, and that would have given your savings already.
That's it?
And then you would have had to, in that case, you would have had to subtract the 836 at the end. 836 has to be involved somewhere. Because that's the closing cost that I had to pay. Because of that process. If I'm going to refinance, they're going to charge me something. Does that make sense what I'm saying there?
So if you added it before, then what?
Then you just don't subtract it at the end. If you add it,
Still subtract those
Wait,
two.
you should, yes. Yeah, you can enjoy it all you want. Because guess what, you should get this all done.
You said no.
You leave before Thanksgiving. Because all day is still school. You know what I'm saying? And when you have study hall and nothing to do in study hall, now you have something to do. Oh, no.
I have no idea how to